Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There may be strong language and adult themes. So, with us today, we have Jenny again sharing scenery for us.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, what depending on whatever your time zone is. Hi, how are ya? How are ya? How are ya? How are ya? How are
Okay,
ya? How are ya?
why is it Juniper today?
Because I'm just an old hippie and kind of stuck with Donovan in my head lately.
Okay, just curious.
And you kids out there, if you don't know who Donovan is, look him up. Just that name, Donovan. Sunshine Superman, Atlantis, Jennifer Juniper, and some other great hits. Check it out.
Okay, in the side chat, I see Robert X and Nerdy Rodent and Harmonica Man.
Good afternoon, all of you.
Okay, Nerdy was betting we could stay on topic for 25 minutes. I think he way overestimated us here.
Oh, we haven't even started yet, but yeah, we can. I bet we can, actually.
I don't know if we can go that long, but yes.
Well,
Yes, today is the birthday of the U.S. Coast Guard. Was created on August 4th, 1790, when the Continental Congress authorized Alexander Hamilton, Secretary of the Treasury, to construct a fleet of 10 ships known as revenue cutters to combat smuggling, mostly because they didn't like the ships that were bypassing the tariff laws.
I believe it was our first official armed force of the country. I may be wrong. That maybe the Continental Army was sanctioned first, but I thought it was the Coast Guard.
It's possible. I wouldn't know on that.
Is Ox out there?
No, I don't see Ox yet.
No, Ox will probably find out. Well, since it's a nautical theme, and we're going to talk about the Coast Guard and stuff, I thought I would start out with a rare treat that follows along with the a nautical theme. If you take a look at our scenery today, I don't know, are you going to share the screen?
You're full screen now.
Okay. If you can zoom in at all, go ahead and zoom in. So maybe they can see the attraction better than. Somewhere in the middle of the view, you may be able to make out that there's a large white ship on the Mississippi.
Yeah, I can't zoom in on the live feed. That's the best I can get.
Boat. It is a paddle boat. Now I know you've seen paddle boats here before. I've gotten shots, but those are little small touristy things that kind of like putt around in the river. This is a real live 341 foot long paddle boat with 3 floors on it, and it's called the American Duchess. It has several other names. It's a modern build. It's not an antique, but it's built in the style and appearance of the original stuff. It's really quite attractive, and it really is fucking big. I mean, there's people walking near it. Nobody's on board right now, citizens wise, but they're standing next to it, and they're just too small to make out on the camera from here. But I can see them, and they're tiny compared to the boat. They're just little bitty dots. This thing is really big.
Well, you can see the windows. The thing's, 3 stories tall?
Yeah. Actually, it looks more like 2.5 stories. Paddle boats are shallow. They don't have a very big draft.
Because they're made to get through the shallow river channels.
Yeah. There's a lot of places on the Mississippi which are 5 feet deep, and stuff like that. So everything on the river is either a small craft V-hull, like a fishing boat, or it's a flat bottom something or other. Paddle pontoon boats are very popular because they're such shallow draft.
Yep.
But this thing's big. This thing's big, and I believe it would be regulated by the Coast Guard. Ding 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 ding. See that segue? Isn't that cool?
Yep. Okay, so that's still on topic.
Yep.
I see in the side chat a lot of talk about how to smuggle me out to the UK. Not necessarily sure if that's what I want, but actually the easiest way to do that would be to get one of the Canadians to get me across the border, because then if I'm going out of Canada, you don't have to deal with the U.S. Coast Guard.
Well, I don't know how much of international waters stuff they respect in that, or especially with our dear buddies from the north, who Americans think we can abuse and take advantage of anytime we want.
Well, in general, though, if it's a ship under the Canadian flag, I really don't think that they can stop it along the coast there.
Yeah, but once it's outside the international borders, they can pretty much do whatever they want. Of course, then they're called pirates.
I thought they were only supposed to do things that were in the U.S. national waters. Which is what, like 50 miles from our coastline or something.
The Coast Guard is on scene in the Middle East.
Well, I know at times they do get deployed as kind of an auxiliary to the Navy. There were actually instances, like during World War II, that there were Coast Guard boats that participated in landings on Japanese islands.
Mm-hmm. It may be that their primary operational mandate is the border patrol and that sort of thing, but I don't think their charter demands that. I think they can go wherever they're needed. Mm. The Coast Guard's not. A lot of people have this concept of the Coast Guard as being a bunch of mamby-pamby guys with uniforms and little sidearms. Coast Guard are the formidable bunch of motherfuckers, and you don't want to mess with them at all. They'll take you down now. I mean, I've had friends in the Coast Guard, and I have so much respect for it. One of the guys was on patrol up in the Bering Sea, and pulling fishing trawlers out of trouble, and they're out there braving this 50, 60, 70 degree below weather, with waves the size of a building coming at you.
Yeah,
and saving lives. Yeah. They're amazing people.
The search and rescue work is definitely, very harrowing. Now, like you say, they're going out in major storms to try and find people who are missing and bring them back.
And they got the coolest paint job on their vehicles and aircraft and stuff. That red stripe thing and on the white is just kind of cool.
They do actually have some fairly heavily armed boats too, especially when they were dealing with things like, stuff coming up from Cuba and South America.
Mm-hmm.
That, they were actually, taking on boats from some of the South American countries that were part of their proper Navy.
Yeah, and then that's, of course, their other job is doing drug interdictions and shutting down boatloads of illegal immigrants and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that goes back to their original charter of, stopping smugglers, not letting anything into the country that, either has been banned or that they're supposed to pay a tariff on.
Yeah, and I'm sure if we were to do some digging, we'd find, corruption that turns our bellies and stuff like that about stuff they let go through or let happen or whatever.
Yeah, but in any organization, especially once you've established a bureaucracy, there's going to be some grift going on, and of course, just the day-to-day patrols too. It happens a lot with police that they apprehend or they stop something that's a shipment of like 400 pounds of drugs, and only 300 pounds gets turned in.
Oh. But if you're out on the water and you're in trouble, who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters. You're going to call the Coast Guard, and they're going to come and help you. They operate, for people who don't know, aren't aware, they operate on the Great Lakes as well. They have ice cutters and rescue stations and craft, and they're doing regular patrols and a certain amount of law enforcement with boating regulations and stuff like that. But they're definitely a presence on the Great Lakes. We had two stations in the Milwaukee area. One was historic, that had been there for over 100 years, and the other one is their new station, which operates out of the south side of Milwaukee.
Yep. Okay, Ox is here now.
Hey, Ox.
But yeah, they have to patrol the Great Lakes because that's our border to Canada.
Yes.
So it's the same kind of thing that, they have to make sure nobody's trying to smuggle anything across the border from Canada.
Mm-hmm. I actually gave a gift to the Coast Guard station in Milwaukee before I left town. Milwaukee, Lake Michigan, has this breakwater which goes out about a mile maybe into the lake. It's a very large breakwater. It's easily 25 feet over water level, the top of the breakwater. I've never been out there, so I don't know how wide it is, but it's big enough to have this building on it. It's a 3-story building with a light tower thing on it, and the Coast Guard is responsible for this building, and nobody really knows what that building's for, but they're responsible for it. And when we have a northeaster in Milwaukee, the waves will build up across Lake Michigan because the wind comes from such a long distance over the lake that we will have 60 foot breaks in the waves as they hit this breakwater and splash up, and they will completely cover this building. In the winter, it's really something when all the ice builds and stuff like that. But I took this series of photographs, rapid fire with a digital SLR, and I was able to get this one huge fucking wave that came in and broke over the breakwater and up alongside the building and over it. And that camera is capable of like 8 frames a second. And so I picked out every other frame or something like that. I forget what formula I used, and I put them together in a sequential collage for them, and I gave it to the office for their lobby or their captain's office or whatever they wanted to do with it, because that's how much I like those guys. This big 16 by 20 print. I should find a way to get
Ox is here now. So what were you had the question before about?
Oh yeah, hey Ox, you the search genius. Which was the first armed force that was chartered in the United States? Was it the Continental Army or the Navy, or was it the Coast Guard? And Ox is telling me, fuck off. Don't make me do your work. Get too busy yourself, you asshole.
Interesting thing, it's not directly related, but did you know that the national debt actually predates the existence of the U.S. as a country?
Oh, well, that's comforting.
Yeah, the first Continental Congress decided to assume the debt that each of the colonies had run up fighting the Revolutionary War so that they would have an excuse to levy taxes.
Well, I don't know.
So that actually happened before the Constitution was signed.
Yeah, but there were taxes before that.
Yeah, but it was an excuse to give the federal government a reason that they could tax all of the colonies. that they had authority to tax all of the states that way.
Well, but there was other stuff that they taxed before that.
Not the federal government; it was the individual states doing the taxes before that.
Well, I suppose because there wasn't a federal government.
Yeah. So.
Well, it doesn't give me any hope for a future of no debt.
Okay, here we go. Oxus got this. The history of the U.S. Armed Forces dates to 14 June 1775 with the creation of the Continental Army.
Okay.
Even before the Declaration of Independence marked the establishment of the United States.
That makes sense, I guess, then.
Okay.
And then the Navy had to have been second because the Marines were way at the beginning. And
no, actually, I don't think the U.S. had its own Navy to begin with there.
Well, what about John Paul Jones and all that stuff?
Again, I'd have to look it up. Oh, hey, Sandy, Ben.
Of course, the most amazing armed force we had then, well, at least according to Trump, was the Air Force. Those planes that they were landing at Valley Forge and stuff like that were pretty useful. And
actually, you're right that the Navy actually was probably also established before the Declaration of Independence.
Which was, well, Declaration of Independence, that was...
Okay, according to Google, the U.S. Navy was established October 13th, 1775.
Oh, okay. So they were like twinsies.
Yep.
I wonder what the budget of the Coast Guard is compared to, like, say, NASA.
You're helping Nerdy win his bet. You know that.
Oh, Nerdy bet in the positive?
Well, he bet we'd stay on topic for 25 minutes, and we're up to 18.
Damn.
Okay, the Biden administration is proposing a $13.1 billion budget for the Coast Guard.
Oh, that isn't NASA like 52 billion or something like that?
Give me a second. NASA's budget for 2021 is $23.3 billion. So NASA gets not quite twice what the Coast Guard gets.
Damn. Well, but then NASA is charged with, interdicting any Martians who are bringing down.
I was going to say, to be fair, NASA actually has a wider border to cover.
That's true. It's a little bit bigger.
Yeah. I still don't get why we needed the Space Force. Isn't that what NASA was in the first place?
Well, yeah. I think that the theory that the idiot was working under, or that the actual adults were working under with all that, is that NASA is a research arm of the government and educational sort of thing, and not charged with any military responsibilities.
Yeah.
Which would be illegal by the charter or the treaties that everybody in the world signed to commit to not put military stuff in space.
Right. Yeah, that's the restriction on NASA, is that they're under that treaty that nobody's supposed to launch weapons into orbit.
Yeah. Which I don't believe has been kept in force by us, Russians, or the Chinese. I'm sure there's weapons up there. Um,
All right, Jeff.
but I guess so. Space Force would basically be the Coast Guard for the Carmen line. You know? And for those who don't know, the Carmen line is the theoretical border between our atmosphere and space. Although it's one complete atmosphere, it's a
Yeah, it's a
magical dividing
gradient. It
line.
just gets gradually thinner the higher you
Yeah,
go.
yeah. And as of recent has been discovered that it goes all the way to the moon and beyond.
Yeah, unfortunately, Grim Point from Mox there.
I'm sorry?
NPC. Funny how Mancy's trying to jump to the stars as being more important than providing food and water for starving people on Earth.
Well, but the reality is that we can afford to do both. The problem is that we don't. There's plenty of money to do both.
Yeah, Nerdy, the Jews have already put the space lasers up there. Remember, that's what started all the California wildfires.
Yeah. If you don't believe us, ask Marjorie.
I have come up with a motivation for why another civilization might come to Earth.
Oh, to steal our Coast Guard?
No, one of the things that has motivated a lot of smuggling across the borders is the trade in exotic pets.
Mm.
So they might just come here to get an assortment of creatures, including humans, to sell as pets on their homeworld.
I don't know that we have that much value. Unless we're, say, members of the Coast Guard. Are we past
Well,
that 25-minute mark yet? I'm stretching here.
no. You want to make Nerdy right.
I'm trying. So have we gone past 25 minutes?
Not quite.
Oh, damn. I wonder what the official drink of the Coast Guard is, or the official uh, um, banquet food of the Coast Guard is. They must. I bet you they have really good chefs in the Coast Guard.
Yeah. I'm going to say that's probably just something like they really want a good steak because, they're kind of sick of fish and seafood.
Yeah, but I bet you they can really cook a premium swordfish.
Like pets or pets. I'm not quite sure the distinction you're making, Sarah. Yeah, and actually, being a house pet's a pretty nice gig if you can get it. Just saying.
I was hoping to be a house pet.
I was for my fiance.
I couldn't get the purring part down though.
Yeah. I'm not so much a dog. I make a good cat. But that's because I was raised by cats. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking that the aliens would probably more regard humans as like, hamsters. But they keep us in a little tank or maybe a terrarium because it's. I mean, it would have to be like a terrarium because it would have to be something that contains our atmosphere, right? And Nerdy, you have hit on why our cats don't kill us. People think it's all about the food. Cats are good at getting their own food. They just don't want to clean their own litter box. Okay, Knox is bringing it back to the Coast Guards. Coast Guard cutter Diligence is stationed here in Wilmington. Diligence has a few records for catching drug smugglers from North Carolina down to Puerto Rico. And by my clock, that's at 27 minutes, so we're over it for Nerdy. We went off for a while, came back to it. And we've lost Jenny for a bit, so her phone probably overheated. So anyone else want to jump in here so I don't have to monologue and ramble? Because now I don't even have a topic to keep going on. Is steak a pretty good sign for bad news coming to the Navy? I don't get that, Hans. Hey, Mage. Yes, the care of feeding of Earthlings, right? Yeah, Nerdy. Okay. Well, it was 27 minutes we were talking about the Coast Guard, but there were some other stuff in there, so I guess you get it. So how much of this is true, that about women really going for men in uniform? Is that still a big thing in this day and age? Well, Nerdy placed a bet. I don't know if anybody took the bet, so, it's a matter of whoever he was betting against. Oh. Okay, but Nerdy, is it the uniform or just anything tight? Okay, so anyway, it's just me in here, so I guess, go back to an AMA. There anything about me that anybody wants to know, or if you want to try a stump thing, try some random trivia. Oh, okay, Hans, you mean, yeah. There probably is something to that if they actually get a good dinner instead of just the mess hall stuff. What is the bet in Quatloos? Oh, there's Jenny. Hello.
Hello. A little overheat again there.
Yep. Figured that was what was going on.
I had to change positions. I hope I'm in better position for shade. Didn't you hear my comments about the smokestacks on the thing? On the boat?
No, we didn't.
The two smokestacks, which are up in front, have been lowered to a horizontal position and it's very weird. They look almost like cannons now,
Mm.
and I'm thinking that they're going to shoot the tourist paddle boat out of the water, just to, because they can.
Yeah.
I would.
Get
Oh,
out of my way.
boom! I would love to see this thing actually turn in the river here. I mean,
Hmm.
this part of the river is fairly narrow.
Yeah. Paddle boats in general do not have a very good turning radius. Even the smaller ones,
Well, the sucker's
tend to have
moving.
difficulty with it.
The sucker is moving forward.
Yep. Slowly. Takes them quite a while to build up steam.
As I was trying to log back in, it blew its horns for a bit, so I guess it's getting underway for some reason. I don't
Well,
see any.
yeah, just if it's, been docked and taking on passengers, it's ready to go now.
Yeah, except I don't see any passengers.
Although actually the paddle wheelers are the reason that we have the nautical references of port and starboard. Starboard actually was steering board because, with the paddle wheelers, they could only dock on one side. You couldn't have the paddle in the way when it was docking. So
The,
the port
the,
side, the dock side, was always the side opposite of the paddle.
the paddle is in the rear. I'm
Okay, on
looking
that
at it.
one. On that one, but yeah.
No, no, no.
Oh,
Those terms came long before a paddle wheel. There were no such thing as a paddle wheel until after the invention of the steam engine, and there were lots of big boats before that.
okay. Yep. You're right.
And this thing must have some auxiliary motors because the paddle wheels aren't turning, but the boat's certainly moving.
Are you sure? It looks to me like the paddle's turning.
No,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see because it's small in my image. So
I do see a few people up front, but they look
yeah.
more like crew members than anything
Access,
else.
some of them can lower the whole pilot house. That'd be interesting. I knew they tipped the smokestacks down just so that they can get under some of the bridges.
Hmm. Interesting.
Well, just like trucks on the highway, there's a standard height for the static bridges over the river, especially, rivers like the Mississippi that are heavy transitways for commerce, but at the same time they have to have bridges for vehicles to go over.
Yeah.
Okay, mermaids, or Nerdy says it's mermaids underneath that are pulling it.
Well, that may be.
Okay, I had thought that some of them were like cruise ships on the river. Ox says a 7-day cruise is $2,300.
Oh, really? So that's what it's doing here. It's making money.
Yep. Well, I figured it was some kind of a touristy thing.
Well, then I wonder how far north it goes.
Even a lot of the smaller ones that they don't have sleeping cabins,
The paddle
but they're
wheels have
still
started to turn.
okay.
Apparently, they're used for steering because they're going. There's two paddles and they're going counter rotation.
Oh, okay. So it's a split paddle. Okay. I'm sure it has a rudder as well, but that probably helps it make tighter turns.
Uh-huh. God, it's big.
I'm not saying it's mermaids, but it's mermaids.
American Duchess. Which is just kind of a dumb sounding name. There aren't no duchesses in America.
Hmm. Sandy's got a point too that the full paddle, they may be concerned about it creating too much of a wake on the river, especially if it's an area where they expect there to be a lot smaller craft.
Well, right now there is no limitation to wake zones in the on the river in this area. They never get to those until the river's at stage 10 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And the river's been at under 6 feet for quite some time. It got down to like 2 feet before the drought broke.
Yep. Yeah, now I see a much smaller boat going past it there.
Yeah, which is actually a fairly big boat.
Yeah. Well, for a river boat, yeah, that's a pretty big yacht.
Oh, the thing. Oh, it's turning. It's turning.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And there's a guy standing on top of it in the
Yeah,
middle.
you were asking about that. If it'd be able to turn around in the stretch of the river.
Yeah, I guess it
So
is.
there you go.
Perspective is a bitch. It's got plenty of room.
Well, due to how tight it's turning, I wonder if it's doing that on its own,
Well,
or if there.
I don't see any tugs.
Well, I was just wondering if as it turns, if we may see one coming up on the other side of it, if there may have been one that's been hidden from us until now.
Ooh, actually, those smokestacks with it, they have little spiky things, like kind of like a crown that come off the top of them. And when they're laying down and now pointing at me, they kind of look like ray guns.
I've seen the little spiky things. I was wondering if those served any purpose or if they were just for decoration.
I have
But
no
yeah,
idea.
there's no tug. It's just going on its own.
Yeah. All right, floor it. Come on. Okay, I'd
Okay.
kind of like to watch it go under the bridge, but
Well, Access found all the info on it. It was built in 2017. The main drive is the paddle wheel and has thrusters in the front for steering. So that's probably before the paddle started. It was just using the thrusters to get some distance from the dock.
yeah, I can see some. Well, no, actually, I'm seeing some wave action out of the back.
Yeah. Yep, it certainly has managed to turn itself around in there.
There's a big old anchor.
So
Can
yeah,
you see?
apparently with those front thrusters, it's pretty much able to pivot in its own length.
Yeah. Can you see the people on it? There's just a few people on deck,
Yep,
and okay.
just barely. I can't actually make them out as people, just, the movement from the color of their clothing. Yep, see, they're watching our stream, and because you said you wondered if it could turn around there, they had to show us.
Hmm. Well, at least they have good taste in streaming.
So which one of you people out there in the side chat is piloting that thing? Yeah, actually, Ox Lacrosse is where Jenny's at.
I'm across the river from the main downtown area at the main bridge.
Yep. Yeah, so the dock it's pulling away from was in Lacrosse.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm technically in Lacrosse too, just on the other side of the river.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the river was part of the state line there.
Nope.
Oh, well, that was interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. I was hoping that doing this we would have some kind of interesting thing happen somewhere along the line?
Yeah, well, I've seen him go up and down the river, but I've never seen him, do a turnaround like that. I used to watch him go by, in downtown St. Paul. Okay, so it's all back to the mermaids, huh? So we have mermaids watching the stream. Okay, and the paddle boat, just as the paddle boat left the edge of the frame, our view count dropped by 1, so the pilot has stopped watching us now.
Cool. That was enjoyable.
Yeah, well, that was a unique thing.
There, YouTube. We got you a scoop. Now pay Purple a lot of money. Be sure to get paddle wheel somewhere in your description and title, so when people search, let's get that view count up.
Okay, one way from Red Wing, Minnesota to New Orleans is $4,989.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Well, yep, it's paying for the unique experience.
Red Wing is a nice little town. Yeah, if you're ever up in this area, see if you can grab a day there and hang out. It's got Red Wing Shoe Company is
Yep.
there that makes some of the finest and toughest damn work boots and things you'll ever run into. They've also got a large pottery history, and so there's a few shops like that. They're the home of the Ufta shop, which is everything Norwegian. And it's just a nice, well, quiet little town. Mostly a bedroom community, but oh yeah, the state prison is just a little ways away too. One of the lower security prisons, not max. So it looks like a school with a fence around it. What a pretty dog.
Puppy go for a car ride.
And mom's not too bad either.
Yeah, can't see enough really to know.
I can.
Yeah, like I say, the image here is that she's about a centimeter tall than me. And that's even with me having this on my big screen.
Hey, I finally did something I've never done before.
Oh, what's that?
Well, this is another one of those transition story kind of things. Um, as I've mentioned many times, just to catch people up, I did my transition 40 years ago. What one thing you don't know about me is that I'm obligatorily cheap. I've never had a lot of money in my life, so I'm a cheap fuck. I find furniture in the back alley and I fix it, and that's my
Yep, same here.
chair and stuff. And so I've always been economical. And so one of the things I have just never ever wanted to spend money on was an expensive purse. I mean, have you seen the price of some of these
Oh yeah, some of them can run thousands of dollars.
yeah, some of these designer purses? It's absolutely obscene. But they're also, of course, lower price stuff out there that mom and dad America can afford. But still, if I can go to Goodwill and I can get a used purse for $1, I'm going to do it. Okay. So for the last 40 years, I've been living on used purses that cost up to $5. Or some camera gadget bags are really good for a purse. But yesterday, or the day before, whatever, I bought my first brand new, never touched by human beings purse. And it cost me $16. Oh, God, I got pissed having to spend that much. But
Well,
it's
very
brand
cool,
new.
but
Doesn't smell bad. There's
$16
no
seems a pretty
stains in
good
it.
price.
So how about that?
Well, $16 seems like a pretty good price. Like I say, even halfway decent ones at Target, I can still be pretty pricey.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of $15 to $30 bags at Walmart and stuff like that. So I'm loath to admit that I purchased money and spent money at Walmart, but I did.
Well,
Um,
funny you should bring that up because actually yesterday at the thrift store here, I bought my very first purse.
huh, Inkadink.
Yep. So nothing. It actually is a name brand now. I'm lousy with names, but who's a Claiborne designer?
Liz Claiborne.
Yeah. So it actually had the designer label. Nothing real fancy. I liked it because it's denim, so that's my style.
Mm-hmm. Mine
So,
is fake leather. Pretty convincing fake leather, though. I must say that. And then I also did something that's slightly insane. I'm doing this dieting thing, and it's really going very well. And I'm trying to encourage myself to stick to it and keep going. And I'm going to have to be at this for a year or more to get the kind of results I want.
well, yeah, losing
But
weight
I bought
always.
I bought a lovely top at Walmart for $7, and I bought it 2 sizes smaller than I can fit in. And I'm using it as my goal.
Okay. So by next year, you plan to get into that?
I hope so.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
figure for $7, that's a cheap waste of money.
Yeah. Well, the time I was stuck in Michigan, I put on about 20 pounds I'd like to get rid of. So I had wanted to be doing the treadmill every day. I haven't been keeping up to every day, but at least several times a week.
I sure couldn't tell that you had any weight to have to lose when we were together.
Hey, Spooky. I've got just a bulge around the middle, which is typical for you know people over 50. So just the waistband of my old pants is too tight. I put on about 2 inches around the waist and got a bit of a gut that I'd like to get rid of because it's just not that attractive.
Hey, we can repeat that conversation we had earlier since we just need shit to talk about. The other weight loss thing that happened, I mentioned, I don't know, I think it was late last week, that at my cardio rehab, they're always doing the numbers on you and stuff like that. And I have officially lost 29 pounds. And that means that I've been able to go down 1 size in my leggings. And so I got a new pair of leggings at the right size, and I actually was able buy right at the store, right at the over the counter. I didn't have to mail order or nothing. So that was exciting, and I'm wearing them today. And I looked in the mirror, and you know what? I've got a butt. I actually got an ass that's not too terrible to look at. It's still a little bit bigger than it should be, but it's actually got some shape to it. And it was kind of like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's me. Amazing.
Yeah. Sarah's asking if you could post a GoFundMe to help with her car repairs, and go ahead. Certainly, if anybody around here can help.
What's going on with the car, Sarah?
Oh, her car's been repeatedly in for repairs since the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's one of those, she gets one thing fixed and something else goes wrong a couple of weeks later.
Well, that's always the hard part about an older car, but
Yeah, well, and where she
mm,
is, she has to have it to get to work, so
yeah,
is important just to keep the income coming in to pay the rent.
yeah. But car payments are so freaking high. I can't believe what cars cost nowadays.
Yeah. Beelzebub was also having problems with his, and turned out the issues with the transmission that at this point doesn't seem, or I guess there isn't anyone around him who can fix it. They just want to replace the whole transmission, which he can't afford. But I guess the dealer he bought it from is willing to take it as a trade-in for him to get something else. But
Of course you would.
yeah.
What the mills about what goes on with trannies these days is everybody stopped going to transmission school because the manufacturers stopped selling parts for them, and they only sell complete rebuilt units. And they're typically rebuilt by the people who originally engineered them. If you got a, if you got a ZF transmission, they have ZF. Has their own rebuilding, and
Yeah.
Getrag has their own rebuilding, and that kind of stuff. So they're really expensive. I mean, I've seen trannies go for $2,500 up to $5,000 for a single tranny.
Oh.
And so what a lot of shops are doing nowadays is they're buying them used from a bones yard. And unless a car has a known history, a particular model, a particular idiosyncrasy, or they eat up transmissions like a Subaru WRX does, that's usually a fairly safe bet. And even though it can be very expensive to do that too, it's not going to be as bad as a brand new one from the dealer.
Yeah.
And a lot of bones yards will put a fairly respectable warranty on those things, like a year, or 10, 12,000 miles, whichever comes first. So it's, if you got a shop that you trust and you don't think they're ripping off, because most shops will buy, they can get and it depends. So I don't, I'm a little hesitant to talk actual dollars, but I've seen even these very expensive BMW transmissions get sold for $200, $300, $400, $500. And then you're looking at probably an amount similar to that to install it. So if you got a shop and they're offering you a used transmission and it's like 1,000 or something way up there, they're taking an awful lot of profit from that. And you might do better to either acquire the tranny yourself, which of course has risk involved, or find a shop that you can, be very comfortable with the trust factor with them.
Yeah.
That's about as best I can
Sarah
do.
was just saying that she got her car back and needs to take it to a more reputable shop. So I guess they've been jerking her around too much. Yeah. She said, I probably need to set it on fire, but can't afford a new car.
Yeah. Plus, you don't want all that melted plastic in your yard.
Now it shakes really badly and can't go above 35. So that's probably a transmission issue. It sounds like it can't get up to third gear there.
The whole car shakes? Or just the steering wheel?
I don't know. That's all she had was that one sentence there.
Well, come on, Sarah. Let's get a conversation going here.
Well, something, Spooky posted when he came in. That yes, this is going to be my last show for a week. That tomorrow night's show and next Wednesday, I'm not going to be able to do because I'm going to be going back to Upper Michigan to rent a U-Haul and retrieve the stuff we left in storage there. And also have to explain to my family. Okay, yes, Sarah's saying, yeah, the whole thing shakes. But
okay, we'll get back to that, Sarah.
yeah, I have to explain to my whole family about transitioning, which, yeah, I don't really expect any of them to understand. I don't really see much of anything good coming out of this, but I feel it's something that has to be said eventually. So
You're feeling a familial obligation to do it then, huh?
Well, just that they need to be warned that if they expect me to show up for Christmas, I'm going to be there in a dress.
Well, skirts are nice too.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
But I will probably have boobies by then. Mine are still on order. Haven't come in yet.
Well, I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to kid around. I mean, and you know it. It's not like I got to say it, but it's going to be damn difficult to do. And you have my phone number. Don't.
Yeah. Well,
hesitate to call if you need.
Sloth Girl is coming with me. And it's like I've got my one brother up there who I feel is the most reasonable one in the family. And my one sister, who at least, has a medical background. She's an RN now. She had been driving an ambulance for a number of years. So she has the EMT training. She didn't get up to paramedic training.
Mm-hmm. Well, if she doesn't decide to pollute her medicine with right-wing politics, that could be a very good thing.
No, she's not right-wing. That she works in a long-term care
care.
I don't know why that was being difficult.
Because you're human and you're nervous.
Yeah. But she's not right-wing, but she is still Catholic.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course.
Yeah. I at least have that in my favor. There isn't anyone in my immediate family that's right-wing. When you get to the uncles and cousins, that's another matter. There's some Trump supporters at that level.
Yeah. Makes me so angry that people have decided to conflate being trans with some horrible sexual thing out of the Bible, which is so fucking untrue. It has no mention of us in the Bible whatsoever. There's just, you can interpret anything to hate whoever you want out of the Bible. And it's just a shame that they chose to do it with trans people. When even back in the biblical days, we were considered to be valuable members of the community and worth respect.
Yeah, actually, I don't know of anything that was, written in that time. I'm sure there's something out there, but I just don't know of anything written in that time that really mentions it either way.
I guess that's something I'd like to read is a book about our history as a people, as a subsection of people.
Yeah. I would wonder, of the Jewish scholars, who have studied just the whole culture that existed at the time the Bible was taking place, that what non-biblical sources they might have for it.
That would be interesting. I mean, we can find information, I believe, out of ancient Egypt. India. India
Mhm.
has us going back a long time in their culture. Um, well, I believe that that attitude kind of was pervasive in Southern Asia at large.
Yeah.
I know that.
Well, and also the Native Americans, as far back as their culture stretch,
Hmm.
they always had about the two spirit people.
Yeah, and there's native words for us in many cultures around the world. So
Yep.
it's not like we were absent
Yeah.
from reality.
Well, and Mage is right, that ancient Rome,
Yeah.
and actually, in ancient Rome, the Greek and Roman gods, it was actually fairly common to have a lot of them that were not specifically one gender or the other, or who changed genders in different stories. So, it certainly was accepted by the culture if they thought it was something that the gods did on a regular basis.
I don't know any facts revolving around it, but I wonder what the existence or creation of eunuchs would have to do with um, transgender in ancient times.
I don't know, but that is the one thing that was that was mentioned in the Bible, was some things about eunuchs. I don't remember specific parts, but we know it came up in there.
God, could you imagine going through that in those days with
Yeah, without
no
even
real
having
medicine?
anesthetic. Well,
Man,
they say they didn't have any anesthetic, any not anesthetic, but y- y- yeah, an anesthetic to put people out. But I'm sure that they had other drugs that would put people in an altered state.
oh
So
yeah, alcohol.
yeah, well,
um,
alcohol or whatever you stuff in your pipe. So at least people weren't feeling the pain as much while it was going on.
and then for a religion to tear us apart, but then at the same time support and perform female genital mutilation and circumcision. It's like, gee, we're not too terribly hypocritical, are we? It's,
Oh yeah, Mage brought up um, Loki was noted for, in one story, becoming female and giving birth.
well, that'd be a trip and a
So
half.
there's transgender for you to the most extreme. Well, it'd be a pain in the half, but I know a lot of transgenders would appreciate it, and in a way, that is one thing that's one experience I never had.
Well, in the land of transgender stories, if people are out there unaware, there's a whole branch of literary
Literature.
literature. Yeah, that's it. That's the word. That has to do with transgender phenomena, transformation, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of people who write them and read them for the fetish value of them, but there's also a lot of people who do very serious, very caring, sharing, delicately written, without a heavy emphasis on sexuality and the act of sex.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of stuff written out there that deals with transgender. Now I forgot where this is going. Um,
Well, we were talking about Loki giving birth and being
oh yeah,
able.
yeah, yeah. Um, and the dynamic of somebody who's transgender to transition and to be able to have children is a very popular theme. It's I don't know many transgender women who don't wish for the ability to become pregnant. Of course, knowing that it's impossible with today's science, but that doesn't mean they don't desire it or feel cheated that they don't have it. Um, many transgender women I know would be happy to push a button and have their genetic structure changed tomorrow if they could. I certainly would. Um, so it's a very emotional topic in the community for a lot of us, that it is central in our minds.
Yeah, well, it is, a very special mark of being a woman, and that's, short of the actual process of being pregnant, I've already gotten about as close to it as anyone can. That one of the little ones I took care of, I was there at the hospital and was holding her when she was only hours old, and wound up, carrying her around in one of those baby slings. So, as she was growing up from the time that she was just a couple of weeks old, until she was too big for the sling, which was maybe 4 months, I was carrying her around against my body every day.
What's really hurtful is when you get these gender criticals or the turfs, whatever you want to call them, the prick bastards who hate us, to say the kinds of things that they do about us without having any understanding the absolute reverence um, that people in our community have for that reality of pregnancy and womanhood.
Mhm.
For them to say the things, and they do it with all intention of hurting us, and they know exactly where to put the knife and exactly how deep to put it to cause the most damage, and
Yep.
and they do it with fervor and glee. And these people are just every sickness they blame on us is a reflection.
Yep. Well, Sarah's also pointing out on the other side, I know a few trans women who think cis women who can get pregnant and choose not to are horrible people. And it is unfortunate that there are some of those, but that's nobody should be dictating what anyone else is doing with their own body. Lost a friend because she was so mad I could potentially get pregnant but do not want to. And Sarah, did you know that there is a term for that about women who can get pregnant but choose not to? They were called heterosexuals. That's actually what the word was originally used for. It was for couples who committed the unpardonable sin of having sex with no intention of having children. That's what the word heterosexual originally was used for in the newspapers back in the 30s and 40s. Yep, we lost Jenny again. Gotta wait for her phone to cool down. Interesting catch there, Mage. Yeah, and Sarah, I understand that, you know, like I said, everyone should be entitled to do what they want with their own body. No one else should be pressuring them in any way. I am certainly capable of producing children. I do not think it's necessarily a good idea that I do. I think everything, what's most valuable about me are things that I taught to the children I raised. While I don't have anything that's a life threatening condition, I've got enough little odd quirks in my genetics that if they're not represented in the next generation, that's probably a good thing. Mind you, a lot of the things I have would not be as problematic today as when I was growing up in the 70s, that people didn't recognize them, didn't know what they were. So, you know, a kid growing up in the same things I've got now would have a easier time of it. Yeah, I get you, and like I said, excuse me, I do kind of envy cis women for that. I would have kind of liked to have had that experience, but it's not a unique thing to trans women either. There's a lot of cis women who, because of various complications, can't get pregnant. So sometimes I hear these stories about how bad people are being treated, and it deepens my loss of hope for mankind. Nobody should be treated that way. Hello again.
I don't know where I got cut off, but damn it, I was on a roll.
Yep.
Oh, poopy.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about getting pregnant and how some women can be very judgmental about it.
We got a couple of stray dogs here, but they don't seem to want to come anywhere near people. So
That's why they're still stray.
I guess.
Oh, yeah, pakanak. So, oh, anyway, I'm still not quite sure how I'm going to be telling my family this week, particularly my mom. Not that she's, generally terribly judgmental, and but like, when things were on TV about like gay issues and that, she's supportive of the gay rights on TV and that, although it always has a bit of a different effect when it comes up as being, in the family.
Mm-hmm.
That I've been out for more than 25 years, but it's a subject that she has never been willing to discuss. Anytime it comes up and I'm in the room, she quickly changes the subject because she is afraid that I'm going to say something about it. So I'm not really sure how this is going to go over. She's 93 years old.
I was just going to ask. Oh,
Yeah. So, like I say, as far as a society thing, she supports it, but as far as it being in the family, she's definitely uncomfortable with it.
yeah. It's always different when it's at home.
But at least on that level, it's like apart from my one very religious brother, I don't expect anybody would really shun me. And in his case, he's still not going to shun me because he still thinks it's his duty on this earth to save my immortal soul and bring me back to the church.
Amen.
So I If anything, I think that the frequency of contact and what he views in a positive light and what I view as harassment is probably going to step up a level.
So you're not concerned for your physical safety. This is all the emotional damage that you're
Yeah.
likely to
Well,
experience.
and I'm just going to be telling my immediate family. I'm not going to be like announcing it to the whole town. And
Yeah.
that was a big part of why I had to move back to Minnesota was that, there were so many things about me that I had to be closeted about that I couldn't, let anybody in that town know.
Are
Just
you
being pansexual and being an atheist and all that would not have gone over there.
are you prepared for this to be the straw that broke the camel's back, and then telling you to, well, good, go back to Minnesota and don't come back?
Well, see, that's the part I'm not sure how they will be willing to handle it because, of course, like I say, they would want me to be there for family gatherings and for Christmas and so forth.
Hmm.
But at the same time, this is the first thing that is going to be, visible to other people. That's going to be obvious. So I'm not sure how they're going to feel about me coming back to the small town there where it's then basically going to be announced to everyone in town.
Well, as you well know, I lost my family when I came out, except for my two brothers. And as it turned out, my two cousins in Las Vegas, but we weren't close enough for me to know that. Um, and it was hurtful. It was difficult. It was sad. Um, but none of them bothered me about it. None of them called me up on the phone and harangued me and or anything. Well, my grandma did. My dad's mom did. But it was only once, and we hadn't spoken since. Um, so, I guess it sounds terrible to wish, but I hope for you that if it does go more negative than you'd like, that they at least leave you alone.
Yeah, well, like I say, I think it's going to cause a dilemma for them that they're not going to know how to deal with.
Hmm.
Because up till now, everything that I've been have been things that if I wasn't talking about it, that they could ignore it. Nothing has been visible before. Oh, yes, and yes, that's the other thing. I did finally settle on a name. So I am going to be going by Tara.
Oh,
That's the
really?
short form of it, and I'm just gonna keep it to the short form that I'm announcing publicly. I'm not going to announce the whole thing publicly. So yeah, I'm going with Tara.
And at what point? Well, you said earlier that online you wanted to just be known as Purple.
Yep. Yeah, in the chats and that, it's still easier for me to just go by Purple.
Well, um, what would be
Thanks, Ox.
the proper salutation? Happy birthday, Tara.
I was kind of wondering about that. Yeah. Do you mark as kind of a second birthday when you started your transition, or at what point do you mark that?
Somebody suggested. Well, I've heard it a couple times, but somebody suggested just the other day on Twitter that why isn't there a celebration for trans people as they announce or begin transition, like there is a baby shower or a bridal shower or something like that, where friends get together and celebrate. Because for us, it's really a moment of celebration. It's a very happy, soul enriching time for us, and it would be lovely to be able to share it with people.
Well, and Soft Girl and I were joking about that going up to my family, it would be a thing to Gather everybody together and do a gender reveal party.
See, now that
But
I was specifically avoiding
yeah,
because those make me so angry.
well, they got way out of hand. I mean, the early ones were just things like, a cake with white frosting, and until they cut into it, they didn't know if it was pink or blue.
Yeah,
So when they were at that level, they were fun.
yeah.
Yeah, the people who are burning down half the state with it, that's another matter.
Um, yeah, there is definitely that portion of it. I completely agree with you on that. But for me, it's more, I don't know, esoteric or existential. When they're going to announce a gender of this preborn child, that they've gained through amniocentesis or ultrasound, um, they've already committed that child to a gender that may not be their reality, because you don't know what gender a person is until they're old enough to tell you. You know?
Oh, actually, ironically, the woman who started the trending of the gender party, the first one that
Yeah.
she announced it and it became a big deal online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she has said, just because of the way they've gotten on hand, she said that she regrets starting the trend. And when her child became a teenager, turned out to be trans.
I rest my case.
Yeah. So the gender reveal was wrong. They just didn't find out for 13 years.
And and I don't know any way around that either. For like a child to be born and the doctor saying, "Oh well, it's a boy," or "Oh well, it's a girl," and that kind of stuff, and society automatically attaching all these very very heavy expectations on an individual for the binary.
Yeah. Well, and
Um,
that's really the whole thing with the transitioning is that it's mostly about, how strangers react to me in public. Because in
mhm.
our society, everybody does, immediately identify male or female just in casual interactions when you're in the line at the checkout and so forth. And just the expectations they put on somebody being a man are a lot of things I was never comfortable with.
Yeah. And for you guys on the chat, each transgender person experiences their dysphoria to a unique degree from a unique perspective. Um, Everybody's different. You heard what Perp just said. For me, there was some of that later on, but for me, it was a completely internal thing, of genitalia, because that was my first introduction to sexuality, was having a show me yours, I'll show you mine session with a next door neighbor, and just being completely blown away, shocked, and quite upset
Mhm.
about what I looked like and stuff.
Yeah,
And
well,
that kind of set
that's
the
the
stone for me.
that's the physical dysphoria that, most trans people have to, some to a small degree, some to a much greater degree,
And some
and
not at
some
all.
even to the point that they wind up, mutilating their own genitalia because they think it just doesn't fit on them.
Well, that's a fairly anecdotal
Yeah,
and
it's a very rare event. I'm just saying that in the extreme, that can happen.
yeah. See, I don't even like bringing that up because that's one of the things that the TERFs and GCs, gender criticals, use as a weapon against us. That this goes on all the time, and oh, look at how you're hurting children. This is what they do, and it's not. It's just not. Um,
Well, yeah, to me,
Anybody?
I only bring it up to point out, that how serious a mental issue this can be for some people.
Well,
That they,
yes, and
they would
that's
actually go to that state that if they can't get the medical help, that they'll try to do it themselves. And, obviously how dangerous that is. That if these people, could get therapy and could get the proper medical attention to transition, that they wouldn't be, pushed to that extreme.
And well, I'm going to argue till we both drop on this. I know I had one person, one client out of our group support groups that we used to run back in the old days in Milwaukee, who went to a local emergency room, put themselves in, locked themselves in the bathroom and cut their balls off. And then opened the door and came out as a bloody mess. At least they had the presence of mind to do it there, as opposed to at home. But that person was very I'm trying not to sound judgmental. They had mental health issues, very serious mental health issues, and I could never see them as probably being able to get the shrink to approve them for surgery because of their mental issues.
Well, certainly, if they have, different mental issues that need to be addressed, I can understand that some people wouldn't get approved for surgery unless they felt they could address their other mental issues as well.
And I think one of the indicators of the seriousness of their issues was the fact that they were in therapy for transgender. They were in a group therapy situation for transgender. They were getting to know other transgender people. They did have the presence of mind to structure that event how they did. So we're not talking like this raving lunatic.
Yeah, so they were already on the path anyway.
But they weren't. They didn't do that because they were transgender. They did that because they were unstable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a specific term for that, for the mental condition of people who mutilate their own body, because it isn't just people with genitalia. It's people that have various dysphorias, and even people that think like their leg isn't right, that their leg doesn't belong to their body, and things like that. I forget what the term is for it.
Oh, you love to pick those rare ones, don't you?
No, it is a rare mental disorder. I'm just saying it is a specific mental disorder.
Yeah, and you are correct, and it is out there.
Yeah. Okay, I think maybe I have to go a little further with the name, though. Just because Ox was giving the origin of Terra, meaning hill.
How do you spell it? T-A-R-A or T-E-R-R-A or?
T-A-R-R-A.
T-A-R-R-A.
But that's actually from the Gaelic. So actually what I'm going with is tarragon, like the herb.
Okay.
Because tarragon actually means little dragon. And that was my fiance called me baby dragon.
Oh.
So, that's big part of that is that, it's just kind of to keep holding on to something from her. So in a way, she named me.
And that really illustrates a generational thing about our transitions. I transitioned a generation and a half or 2 generations ago, however you want to count generations. And for us then, the idea was to change your name and for it to just be some quiet little name that didn't stick out, and again, to assist with blending and not to be something that stands out. And nowadays, not just you, but lots and lots of trans folks pick these names that are very interesting in socio-political or socio fantasy ways. That there's a lot of fantasy stories and things that people latch onto, and like Gaelic history or Norwegian history, things like that. That everybody's seeking to have a meaning and definition to their name. And I'm not judging.
Yeah.
It's just an observation
Yeah,
that
for me, it was
it's
just having
amazing
personal meaning.
how it has changed. So that
Yep.
I had to be hidden because we were so scared to death. And
Yeah.
nowadays, people are feeling brave enough to stand out and to take their ground and say, "This is mine."
Well, for me, it has personal meaning, and um, I didn't want a name that was too far out there, so I
Hmm.
felt this was still in the range of what people wouldn't pay too much attention to as being a normal woman's name.
Uh huh.
So it
Well,
doesn't specifically, point to me being trans or pointing to any social political agenda or anything like that.
yeah. Well, I think you chose well.
Yeah, thank you. But I, also the name I started out with was one that I tended to blend in so much.
Oh, um
Yeah, my birth name was just just so common, especially if I'm, the name I've been using is so common, especially the full name if I'm living in an area with a lot of Scandinavians.
I also noticed that you do not refer to it as your dead name. Is there a particular reason to that?
Well, for one thing, I'm still using it. So, I mean, it's going to be a process over several months of getting all the paperwork changed to, get my legal name changed and all that. But yeah, also I have kind of wrestled with the idea of the dead name and that, and it's like, yeah, what do you do after that point? It's like you can't deny that you have a past, that you had a childhood. So how do you refer to that? And it is a question I'd like to have conversations with a bunch of transgender people on that.
Um,
About how do you deal with talking about your experiences before you transitioned, both good and bad?
get a thread going on Twitter. That's
No,
something I think.
no, no. You absolutely cannot have a serious discussion on Twitter.
Oh, yes, you can.
No, the structure of Twitter does not allow for it. It only allows for flame wars and dumpster fires.
No, it doesn't. You can chain a thread and put 10,000 words down
Yeah,
in your thread, and people will read it.
but
And
see that's the problem, that you chain a thread and it branches off from all the different links in the chain, so then you have a bunch of comment strings that are no longer linked together.
no. They've changed it. There's a way when you start writing a tweet. You get this little plus mark at the bottom of your tweet
Yeah,
page,
yes, I've
and you
used that.
and you click that and you write another tweet or a continuation and then a continuation,
Yeah.
and nobody else gets in on that until you're done and send it.
Yes, but once it's been sent, once it's posted out there, people will still comment on ones in the middle.
Well, sure, and that's fine. Let them do that
And
all
that's
they
what I
want.
mean, that you have the conversation branching off in 100 different directions with
And
no
sometimes you get a
coherency.
person who takes a point that you've made and they'll go on and create their own extended tweet. Sometimes it'll be 2, 3, 4 tweets. Sometimes it'll be 10, 12, 15. You
Yeah,
know,
but
sure, there's always people screaming at the back of the pack, yelling obscenities. But then there's also people who are up in front and having a discussion with you.
the way it keeps branching off, it's not one discussion, and I cannot follow several different discussions that all
Well,
branched off from that same thread.
you pick the one you want to follow, and you tweet back to that person directly, and you get a conversation going between you two. Ask them to go to direct mail and continue discussing it with you. There's there's people out there to reach to
Yeah,
and to discuss these things with. Don't be
yeah.
afraid.
No, I don't like Twitter. I don't like the way it's structured. I don't like the way they structure the comments. And, it's just I've seen what happens anytime somebody tries to have a serious discussion there. So I think Twitter is a poor platform for that. But I would certainly like if we could get a couple more transgender people, to come into the chats here on my channel to discuss it. That we could have some discussions on it here.
Well, then you're going to have to go to that audience, potential audience, and let them know you're here.
Yeah,
And you
I'm
get
going to have to, plan it out and do it. I've had so much else going on with, just dealing with both things in my transition and dealing with some other things going on in my life.
mhm.
So I haven't had time to, plan it out.
And I would think also most of the time when you write something like that, a big chain thread, you're going to get almost nobody who comments at all. Period. There's a lot of people just, okay, I read this, click, like it, and move on.
Well, I know what you mean.
I've got a tweet out there right now. It's got like 1,500 impressions, which is how many people have seen this. And there's 3 likes, and no replies.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and also on Twitter, I know a lot of times that if you string it out, and if it goes like more than 3 things strung together, that a lot of times people will give up and not bother reading the whole thing.
Katie Montgomery's got a beautiful tweet out there right now. I just saw it today and replied. And
I have some things on Twitter from her, pretty much every day, but I don't really make a habit of following her.
This one said, she says, I think I need something trans positive today. And then she writes, globally out to whoever's reading, what have you experienced in your transition or your trans life that has been the most positive thing, or has been a positive thing for you that you feel is significant and important? And boom, this thing is going to be hundreds and hundreds of people responding by the time it starts to fade. But the answers are all over the place, from, I've become more true to myself, blah, 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 to, I have this beautiful wardrobe. And for somebody, it's, I've learned why I like my friends so much. I've changed my career direction in life, that I used to have no confidence. Now I'm going to college, so it's amazing how much positivity there is in being trans and transitioning, that it's a fucking lifesaver.
Yeah, I've had, issues with anxiety my whole life, and I actually am feeling already that a bit of the anxiety is going down. I think I'm doing better at that level.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think of all the things that are involved with transitioning, that seems weird. For most people, especially in the early stage, it winds up being a lot of extra anxiety. But, it just kind of feels that much more comfortable with, announcing publicly that I just function better as a woman. I'm still at the early stage that, I'm not fully going out in public fully dressed yet. Although, I have in the past from time to time. I haven't done it since I moved here. And that is another issue at that level, that, how are the neighbors, how are the other people living in this building going to handle it when they see me coming in and out dressed up like that? So I expect some backlash from that, but, again, I don't think it's likely to, get to the level of being a physical threat or anything like that. I feel this is a pretty safe building. Although on the other hand, I have known people who like got their car vandalized just for the bumper stickers they had, so I can see that as being a potential thing of somebody vandalizing my car in the parking lot. And unfortunately, we've lost Jenny again, so. Yeah, Spooky, I never really learned to use Discord. I have it just because communication for a couple specific things, mostly like when I'm on the shills, that I get on Discord when they're setting up the shows and sharing the links, and that's about all I've used it for. Nerdy, I don't know why anybody would prefer being afraid. Yeah, you would need to explain that one. And yeah, Mage, that is another issue on Twitter that, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of the turfs out there. There are a lot of people who are pretty much attacking, well, anyone who posts anything to do with being in the LGBT plus community. There's going to be people coming down on them explaining why they're horrible people for that. So yeah, Twitter for the most part, yeah, even for Twitter mostly I stay to the private areas. I really don't go out and read the public areas unless somebody's responded to something I posted or unless I'm just really bored. And I usually wind up regretting it soon after. So yeah, actually, Robert, the instances mostly where I saw about people getting their cars vandalized were for having pagan bumper stickers, which I had on my car for a long time. But yeah, right now I have, especially just through the Trump presidency, I had avoided putting anything on my car that stated any type of religious or political opinion or affiliation. So I just kept it to strictly humorous bumper stickers. The most political thing I had on there is a sticker that says, "No, you can't have my rights. I'm still using them." Which actually, when I got stopped by a cop, he commented on that and gave me a thumbs up for it. But that was in Michigan too. That's not where I'm living now. Actually, it was a Wisconsin cop. It was while I was driving through Wisconsin. Because where I lived in Michigan, couldn't even get to Walmart without driving through Wisconsin. So, okay, ask me anything. Anybody have any questions they want to throw out there? Yeah, and Robert, that's pretty much the attitude I'm going to have to take with my family is that, I'm putting the information out there, and what they want to do with it is up to them. And that's why I'm doing it now. That basically, I want to give them a couple of months that they can figure it out, that they can decide whether or not they want to invite me for Christmas. Because for me, if I miss it, not a big loss to me. I've done it alone enough times in my life.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if for Christmas they gave you something really pretty, like a really nice piece of jewelry or a really nice dress or something like that? Wouldn't that be cool?
Well, Sloth Girl did that. Sloth Girl actually demonstrated that she has the potential to be a good boyfriend. That For my birthday, she took me out to dinner and she gave me jewelry and chocolates.
Oh, how sweet. No one's ever done that for me.
So, yeah, even though we're not in any kind of a romantic relationship.
When I'm sure there's people in chat who've heard this story before, but I came out to my parents in October of the year that I did, and was excised or threatened with excisement from the family. Um, but I still hadn't started going 24 hours or anything like that. And so when I went over there, I would dress down, so to speak, and it was okay for me to be there. But once I started to um, live 24/7, and I refused to compensate for their inadequacies, um, they asked me not to come then. So, but anyways, Christmas came up before all of that, and it was clear at that point that I was not kidding with what I said, with my clothing choices and hairstyles and things like that. But they still, on Christmas Day, decided that they should buy me a 3-piece suit. And it was the ugliest damn thing, too. And I laugh about it now, but it was very hurtful then. The only thing good that came of it was that I took it back and got the money and bought myself some proper clothes.
Yeah, that is the kind of thing I kind of expect some members of my family to do. That I will probably get some passively aggressive Christmas presents.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I'm going now because so far there isn't really any real visible change. I can still go the way everybody's used to seeing me in, jeans and t-shirts and nothing's noticeable. But yeah, that's what I mean. That, if I have any significant breast development that is noticeable in a t-shirt, yeah, then by Christmas, that's going to be an issue. That I'm not going to buy a binder to cover it just to make them comfortable.
Yeah, well, that's why they invented sweaters. Big, bulky sweaters.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of sweaters. I've always liked jean jackets.
Yeah. Sweaters are your friend.
So while you were out, I started to do the AMA. So got a couple of questions I should address here.
Oh, by the way, yeah, I overheated again. I'm sorry. If anybody'd like to stop this overheating thing, for the price of about $200, I can get my air conditioning fixed, and then we won't have this problem anymore. Oh, well.
Yeah, you will have to have your car running the whole time, though.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, your car sitting idling for 2 hours doesn't sound like a great thing.
No, it doesn't.
So, okay, Lone Wanderer asked, what's your favorite state? It is Minnesota. That's why I was, so intent I needed to get back here. Minnesota's the only place I've really felt I could call home. And it's mostly because people here generally have an attitude of, as long as you keep it in your backyard, it's none of my business. So I just like that most people don't really care what their neighbors do. So it's been a very good state to be out and open even since the 80s.
Well, that saying, if it's as long as it's in your backyard, do what you want. That explains why all the stills are located in the backyard, doesn't it?
Yep. So Nerdy was asking your favorite food you think is British. Actually, one of my really favorite foods is if I can get the authentic British fish and chips. But it's really hard to, find any authentic ones pretty much anywhere in the U.S. I really didn't get to check the local restaurants here because of COVID. So right now, the only place I know is this little shop in St. Paul, across from Como Park, that is a converted gas station called Max Fish and Chips. And they're about the most authentic British fish and chips I've found anywhere. And I really came to the conclusion that if you want the proper fish and chips, it has to be a place that you go into for the food, but you would be hesitant to sit down and stay. Among other things, everything's got that thin, sticky layer of, grease residue.
Nerdy, is this a question to both of us or just per?
Oh, you go ahead too. You weren't here at the time, but go ahead.
All right, I think I may actually shock Nerdy on this one. Yorkshire pudding. I love Yorkshire pudding. So take that.
Now, I'm not even exactly clear on what's in Yorkshire pudding.
Yorkshire pudding is this dish that is it is a legitimate pudding in that you mix it like a custard, which is just another form of pudding, except that it's baked, and that the flavoring of it is meat, is beef fat. Okay, and it grows and it kind of puffs like a souffle kind of thing, although it's still pudding in the oven, and it gets this crustiness to it, and then when you take it out, it collapses down. But they're properly cooked. It should have this fairly resilient, crispy top. Not crispy like bread, but crispy like pudding. I don't know how else to describe it. But then have soft insides, and just be very delicious with the beef fat flavoring. I've had it with prime rib, and it's a spectacular side dish to that.
Interesting.
How's that, Nerdy? Is surprised?
The Lone Wanderer is saying just take male clothes to a tailor and have them make you culottes. I'm not sure what culottes is.
Culottes?
Kilotts. But, well, of course, on my budget, I could never afford a tailor. I do a little bit of sewing on my own, but I've only really made loose stuff like pajamas and scrubs. I haven't made anything form-fitting. So I did find a dress I really love at the thrift store. So I am practicing. I'm trying to learn how to let it out because it's like 2 sizes too small. So I'm trying to figure out how I can let it out without ruining it.
Boy, they usually don't leave enough in the seams on a store-bought item.
No. Yeah, this one definitely doesn't have enough in the seams. I figure I can make it a little shorter, so I can trim the hem a couple inches to have some extra fabric to use that to make a gusset in the side under the arms. So I'm experimenting with it. I don't know. Odds are I'm going to ruin the first couple of dresses I try it on.
Kitty might be able to help you understand how to do that.
Yeah, and I found some YouTube videos on how it's done, and so I understand the theory at this point, but actually putting that into practice of getting the measurements just right. And it would be a lot easier if it was a sleeveless dress, but since it has sleeves, it's not just putting a straight gusset in. It has to be a gusset that's going to be cut to go around the back of the shoulder.
Mm-hmm. I have this dress that I bought because it was a maxi dress, ankle length kind of thing. And since I've gotten it, I've decided I don't like it to be that long. I'd like it to be a few inches shorter. But it's just kind of a big, billowy, fat woman's dress. And so it's not fitted in any way. But I would like to have a belt for it. So I'm going to take off the first probably 3 inches and make a 1.5 inch wide belt out of the darn thing, or the material, and be able to cinch the waist a little bit that way.
Oh, that sounds nice. Robert said it would be hard to find a British old newspaper to put the fish and chips in, and I actually have maintained for a long time that that's the problem. That since all the newspapers went to soy-based ink, that you can't get the fish and chips quite right with that. You got to have a bit of the petroleum leaching into the oil.
Numb.
It's part of the traditional flavor. It needs to be there. No wonder such fish and chips are Jewish food.
I haven't heard back from Nerdy yet. What do you think of my favorite
Yep,
English dish?
yep. Nerdy said sounds like a typical British chippy with a grease layer.
Okay.
Yorkshire puddings are awesome.
So does that mean I can immigrate to UK and fit in?
I guess so.
All right.
Okay, Greg's voting for bangers and mash. Oh yeah, and Nerdy's vegetarian, so none of the meat grease in it.
And I've never had anybody write me a list of what qualifies as an English breakfast. But from photographs I've seen, it appears to be sausage, beans, eggs, maybe some bacon too. And that would be a fine breakfast for me. Just fine.
I've asked about that too, and nobody's actually given me a list of what it's supposed to include. But yeah, from what I've seen, it certainly looked like something I'd have. Okay, Spooky said culottes are trousers cut with full legs to resemble a skirt. Okay, now I know the kind of style you mean there.
Yeah, they're like big basketball shorts.
Yeah, but just
have enough to make them look like a skirt.
Yeah, big billowing legs.
They were. Here's your culottes story. They were first seen in my life. I believe they were actually invented or first hit the fashion scene in the late 60s, early 70s, when women were starting to insist on being allowed to wear pants. And it was kind of this halfway thing that it's not a skirt, it's culotte. It's not pants, it's a culotte. And
I can see that would make sense, especially women working in office environments.
Well, and students in school, they weren't allowed to wear pants.
Yeah.
So they would wear a culotte. And
okay.
For many intents and purposes, it's pretty much the same, except it's short pants. And they got popular that way. And of course, all the boys hated them because they weren't mini skirts, which were also popular at that time, which you also got sent home for. Although that relaxed by 72, mini skirts were allowed at school.
Okay, Nerdy says sausage, beans, toast, eggs, bacon, blood sausage, and mushrooms. So if you're specifying blood sausage, what was the first sausage? And he said hash browns are optional. And Greg Hartwick says it has to include stewed tomatoes.
Oh, I love stewed tomatoes. My mom and I love stewed tomatoes. None of my brothers or dad liked them, would eat them.
I'm not big on them. I'll eat them if they're in something, but
I use stewed tomatoes for the base of a lot of different tomato sauce dishes that I make. Like spaghetti. I'll drain some of the water off, but the seasoning and stuff that they put in stewed tomatoes in the can is pretty nice.
Yeah, well, Sloth Girl uses them in a lot of things, and a lot of times with casseroles and that. She's half Italian, so does a lot of that type of cooking.
You want to do a really neat thing. Take 2 cans of stewed tomatoes. In the store, I find regular ones and then Italian style, which just means they put oregano and shit in it. I will usually avoid that for this particular recipe. And I will take one of the cans and I will cut it in half, and I will take that half a can and puree it, like with a stick blender or something like that. And then I will take a can of your basic condensed tomato soup and mix that all together and cook it till it thickens, because the stewed tomatoes make it kind of liquidy. So just cook it to, thicken it up, and you make the best damn tomato soup you've ever had. It's really good with chunky tomatoes in it and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Num num.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Num num.
Oh. So, okay, so a couple of different variants on the British breakfast. Spooky said bacon, beans, mushrooms, sausage, toast, eggs. Black pudding is optional, and fried tomatoes.
Okay, you Brits. Here's a really classic um, Southern American breakfast. Eggs, such as poached eggs, is my favorite way to do it. And white rice, sticky rice. Oh, here comes an eagle. And I always like to have the rice and then break the poached eggs into the rice and mix them up with butter and pepper. And it is so good. Wow. Fucking huge. Just came right overhead. So that's it. And then you have bacon. Sometimes I'll crinkle the bacon up in the mixture too, and sometimes I'll leave it on the side, or sausage, or whatever you want that way, and whatever toast you want. But that's the only place I've seen that regularly will have eggs and rice is down south. Up here in the north, they kind of look at you funny. You want what? Oh, we have fried rice. No, that's not. I don't want fried rice. Did we overheat again? God damn it.
Yep. I've been babbling and didn't realize my mic was muted. Sorry. So, Nerdy, you've never had cornbread. Is that just something that you don't see much in the UK? Is the cornbread just more an American thing? Yep. Sorry about that, people. I've got a hardwired button on my mic to mute, so sometimes I miss it. Well, Nerdy, if it wasn't for the fact that it would probably go stale in the shipping time, I would mail you a loaf of cornbread. It's actually not difficult to make either. It's really a lot more like, making a cake that you just kind of blend everything together and you stick it in the oven. It's not like regular bread that you have to, worry about rising times or anything like that. Hello.
Hello.
We have a close-up of 2 fingers. Oh, and she's gone again. I mean, it says she's still here, but we just got blank box. Oh, okay, you are still here. Nerdy was saying he's never had corn. Oh, now she's gone. Oh, well, she'll be back. Yeah, Nerdy, I'm sure if you Googled it, I'm sure you could find cornbread recipes for the bread maker. Although actually for cornbread, it seems to me that the bread maker would be more effort than it's worth. So like I say, cornbread's actually pretty easy. You just blend all the ingredients together in a bowl and you pour it in a pan, stick it in the oven. So unless you don't have an oven, I think the bread maker is really more than it's worth to bother with for cornbread. Yeah, whether or not you have whole kernels of corn in it is optional. I generally don't. I'm generally used to the smoother one. Are you with us, Jenny, or are you frozen? Nope, you're moving. But we are not hearing you if you're talking. Okay, you know what, Nerdy? If it's that big a thing, I could ship you the dry ingredients for cornbread for you to make it yourself. That would go through the mail without a problem. Mind you, it'd probably be like $50 postage to ship you a couple of pounds of ingredients over the Atlantic. And there we go. Ox has the whole recipe for you there with the measurements. Although I don't know if you can handle those or if you need the measurements in metric. There you are.
I'm back.
Yep, now we have sound again for you.
Yeah, I'm wiping out the cam. It's just getting too hot. Nerdy, I'm sure somebody on YouTube has a cornbread recipe. But you could also try America's Test Kitchen.
Well, Ox just put the recipe up here.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a good good basic recipe.
Yep.
And you can mix. Well, when I've done it, I've always used cream corn because the kernels are broken a little bit and it's just more creamy for the cornbread. But you have to adjust your other liquids.
Okay, Ox is saying I need cups converted to freedom units. Cups are freedom units. The idea of freedom is anything that's not French. That's why we have freedom toast and freedom fries. So the French use that weird base 10 thing, and the US will have nothing to do with it. So cups are freedom units.
No, the Republicans will have nothing to do with it. Us normal people do not have a problem with the metric system.
Yeah, I was actually disappointed that, we were supposed to be metric by, sometime in the 80s. And it would have made all the construction work I've done over the years so much easier if I could have done it in metric instead of in fractions of inches and, trying to multiply 16ths by quarters. Yeah, fractions are just a pain in the ass.
Oh
That's
God.
that's why we need metric, just so we don't have to deal with fractions anymore.
Fractions were the beginning of my terror about math as a kid. After we hit fractions, I felt totally incompetent for math for the rest of my life.
I can do fractions. I can even do it in my head, but it's slow and annoying.
They, you know, they keep fractions, but they got rid of cursive handwriting. Now, I think they made a really bad choice. uh,
Okay, well, Ox has even got the conversions. No, see, there was a reason for this. The reason we got rid of cursive is now we have a secret code that nobody under 30 can read.
well, that's true.
Of course, nobody could read my handwriting to start with. In fact, that if I wrote myself a note and found it a week later, I usually couldn't read it.
I will say one thing that since we do so much keyboard work nowadays, um, I find myself writing longhand very, very seldom.
Yeah,
And my handwriting has gone down the tubes for as how nice it looks.
yeah. Apart from signatures, cursive really isn't used for much. So I kind of understood at that level, but they still should have taught kids to read it because they're still going to encounter things that were written, 30 years ago.
Well, they dropped it because they just thought that penmanship was something stupid to you know to grade kids on and stuff like that. And I agree because there's some people who just can't write well. That it's always going to look like a third grader wrote it or like chicken scratches or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's still legible.
Yeah, my handwriting has not improved since the 5th grade.
Yeah, handwriting grades were always way subjective. If
Hmm.
you didn't do it like that, those classic letters around the chalkboard of every classroom, you were subhuman.
Yep.
So teach cursive, don't grade it.
Well, I've got a sheet here, because I was practicing signing my new name. So
Uh-huh.
I've got my new signature here about 30 times or so.
My signature really changed um, during and after transition. It
Oh, did it?
oh yeah, it was
That's interesting. I wonder why.
your basic boy handwriting looking crap is how I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
And today my signature is I've had people tell me that you have a beautiful signature. That
Hmm.
like at a store or at the hospital when you're signing a paper or something like that. That people just feel compelled to tell me that. It's got all the flourishes and sweeping characters and stuff like that. And it just developed all on its own. It
Hmm.
just
Interesting.
and it's even still changing a little bit.
Yeah, Maid said my cursive writing has been compared to a doctor's, and that's kind of like, yeah, my signature. It's kind of, you can make out the first 2 letters, and the rest of it's just kind of some random thing.
Yeah, it's like Trump's signature.
Well, it's like a doctor's prescription.
Doctors, I guess there has really been a lot of issue about that in the medical field and the quality of their penmanship, especially with a prescription, has been at issue because so many mistakes are based on how poorly it is.
Yeah, well,
Um,
obviously less of an issue now, but I know that was something that came up even in lawsuits before.
yeah,
That, like, prescription dosages and things were wrong because the pharmacist, misread what the doctor had put.
and pharmacists getting sued because of the doctor's handwriting. You know, it's just fucked up. Doctors should take the time to write it neatly and legibly.
Um,
I don't
yeah,
care if it's printing or cursive.
I had a problem with that once. In the early 90s when they prescribed me the cough syrup with codeine because I had strep throat. And somewhere there was a miscommunication between the doctor and the pharmacist, or somebody made a typo. And the instructions on the bottle, instead of saying 2 teaspoons, said 2 tablespoons.
Whoops.
Yeah, so, when I called for a refill, they wondered why I ran out so fast. And it's, well, because I was on triple dosage, which that is one of the few things that will actually make me sleep. So, yeah, for about a week and a half there, I was like barely awake the whole time.
Damn. That's a big mistake.
Yeah, well, for some people that could have been fatal, to be just that heavily sedated. But yeah, like Ox said here, that even when I was growing up, I used a typewriter, so I didn't do much handwriting, but I can read it. Although, yeah, my spelling is still horrible. That even with the spell checker, I have problems. A
Yeah,
lot of times I wind up with things that the spell checker can't figure out what word I was trying to get.
I just saw Ox's comment too. I can't relate. I was a compulsive speller, and I just loved spelling correctly. I got so much positive feedback from teachers and parents because I could spell things correctly that it just turned into an addiction for me. Um, I loved getting straight A's in spelling. It was just my
Yeah.
obsession.
Jen
Sorry.
said my handwriting requires a cardiologist to read because it looks like an EKG. Sorry, Jen, didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, that's it. That I was done.
Yeah.
That's fine. Uh-oh.
Is that a helicopter coming over you or what?
Yeah, the Death Star.
Oh, medical chopper taking somebody out.
Yeah.
Major's recommending hibiscus tea for a sore throat. Yeah, I cough a lot. It's not really a sore throat. Part of it's a scratchy throat from the acid reflux, but also I just seem to get really phlegmy. It's really, my sinuses are bad. So if I can do something to clear up my sinuses, my throat gets better. Hello again, Giant Finger.
Hello again.
Hi. Is your phone giving you lots of problems now? You're having trouble staying connected?
Yeah, it's just really warm. There's no breeze here, and
Yeah.
I have to wave it around to keep it cool. And
Okay.
and every once in a while, my finger. One of the things I hate about StreamYards is if you touch anywhere on the screen, it goes crazy.
I've never tried to use it from a mobile, so I don't know how that
Yeah,
app works.
it just does shit that you have no intention of asking it to do, and it just fucking does it, and it cuts you off, and
Yeah.
it's just
I've heard a lot of complaints about StreamYards from anybody who's trying to be in the panel on a mobile app. So it just seems they didn't get that end of it really worked out yet. Excuse me.
yeah. They used to at least apologize for it when you launched. There's this little apology note. Now they don't even do that. Oh.
Well, we've been going about 2 hours, 20 minutes here. So this actually wouldn't be a bad place to wrap it up. and then I can get to packing for my trip.
Well, Perp, I wish you the best on this.
The way my family is, there probably won't, pretty much everybody likes to avoid conflict. So there probably won't be anything but a few discouraging words while I'm there. So I'm not expecting a really immediate response, and it's more what the fallout's going to be over the course of the next several months.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take 3 or 4 months before I really get any gauge on how my family feels about this. But like I was saying before, I think you might have been out of the room at the time, Jenny, but basically I'm doing this now so that they've got a couple of months to ponder it over and decide whether or not they want me showing up for Christmas. Because if I do, then it's going to be out to the whole town. And just they need to be prepared to deal with what everyone else in town is going to say about it then. So basically, this is kind of giving them a warning. I'm giving them the information. What they want to do with it from that point is up to them.
Don't you think that they'd say, yeah, come for Christmas, but stay in the house?
Well, I'm sure their first response would be, "Can't you just dress as a man while you're here?" But like I say, if I have any significant breast increase, I am not going to be buying a binder for it, so that might be kind of obvious under a t-shirt. And pretty much if I were to show up there wearing anything other than jeans and a t-shirt, people in the town would think that alone would be suspicious. Nobody up there ever saw me in anything more than that, so.
Well,
Oh, and Diana coming in right at the end here. Hi.
hi, Di.
Oh, wish you had been here earlier because we were talking about me coming out to my family. I think you would have had some valuable input on that, but we're just wrapping it up here. Yep, Mage, that's about right. I've never been good at putting on a front or acting like other people want me to.
Them.
I'm just me all the time.
Them. Well, can't you just dress like a man while you're here? Me. No, I don't do drag.
Yeah. Okay, so usual wrap up stuff. Movie night on Friday. I won't be here for that. Jenny will be in there. You have any place else, Jenny, that you're going to be showing up?
Movie night Saturday night.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, for this week and next week still, that movie night will be on Saturday night instead of Friday.
Yep.
So anything else you want to throw in?
No, other than I will be thinking about you and hoping that this goes as well as it can, which of course means no. Well, it's hard to say no conflict, but minimal conflict. And just remember, you got lots of friends here.
Yep.
Families are sometimes the best. Families are sometimes those you choose, not the one you're sentenced to.
Well, I tend to say that family are the people you choose to have around you. Relatives are just an accident of birth.
That's a pretty good way to keep thought of it.
Yeah, Diana, I appreciate you offering to set up another stream, but I'm going to be leaving town on Friday morning. So I just, I'm even canceling the streams I'm normally in. So, yeah.
Well, couldn't Diana do stream from her place tomorrow at midnight, and we'll she can call it Lavender Lady, but the purple rhymes with orange edition or something like that.
Yeah, but see, I can't stay up that late because Friday morning I've got to be driving.
Oh, we don't need you. We can do it without you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm being goofy.
Yeah. Well, a week from Thursday night will be, right after I get back. Actually, we should be coming back on Tuesday, but we're going to be coming back with all the stuff from storage. So I kind of need, Wednesday to, to be able to unload the truck and put everything away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't think I'll be able to do a stream on Wednesday either.
Okay. Well,
thanks, Robert. Okay, well, and I would like to, again, thank all the people who are supporting me on Patreon. Greg Hartwick, Diana, the Lavender Lady, Robert X, Ox, all of whom are here now. Thank you for your support, both just hanging out with us and with sending me a couple of bucks every month. I appreciate that all of you are paying for the StreamYards for doing this. And Junie the Apostate, who did my lovely avatar and also gave me another piece of artwork when we met for one of the characters in my novel.
Oh, I didn't know Junie was out there. Hi, honey.
Well, she's not out there today, but I just wanted to plug her artwork for other people. So, and Vonrick and the Utah Outcast. So really appreciate, that you people are helping me cover things. And like I said, basically it pays for the StreamYards, so that's not out of my pocket. And on my budget, that really helps.
Hey,
because
chat.
even $10 a month for the StreamYards, some months I run right up against the edge.
And chat, I'd just like to take this moment, since we're all touchy-feely here. I'm going to miss you guys. I won't see you for a week. I really love all you guys. You really, the fact that you'll come and listen to me babble with Perp, it just is really very loving and positive in my life, and you make a difference for me. Thank you.
Yeah, Diana, we will have to talk, because we were talking earlier too about another thing about that I'd like to get some transgender people together to basically talk about, dead name, how you handle with your dead name, about talking about your history before you transitioned. So I would like to do a couple of streams on, different subjects that are coming up for me as I'm transitioning, just because I think that if we could get a couple of people who've gone through the process together to discuss it for anyone else out there who's, still at some earlier point of it, and just in general, that I think it would help to give, allies, help in understanding some of the issues that we go through.
Hey, Perp, one quick question.
Yeah.
So if you have an all tranny show, is it going to be automatic or 5-speed? Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, and that actually does become an issue when you search trans for things. That comes up a lot.
Uh-huh.
That I wind up getting car parts. And so, okay, well, with that, I'm going to click it off here. So thank you all for coming. And
bye-bye, everyone.
I will see you all, a week from Thursday night. Bye-bye.